Hello and welcome to the big picture. With polling to another 300 and odd seats of the 543 Lok Sabha seats still to be held across the country, all political parties are in the course of fine-tuning their strategies and reworking their plans to garner as many seats as possible. The two major parties, Congress and the BJP, are working furiously and making some course corrections as they go along. BJP's strategy, which is centered around gaining maximum seats in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, if it has to reach its goal of 200 plus seats, is also desperately trying to recreate its 1990s magic. The party, which had won 57 seats in 1998 out of 85 in then undivided state of Uttar Pradesh, had done so on the basis of Hindu consolidation. In fact, its strategy this time also is turning towards consolidating the Hindu votes and creating a Hindu vote bank, or rather recreating a Hindu vote bank, not just in Uttar Pradesh but across the country. So the question is there a Hindu vote bank in the country anymore? And if not, can it be recreated this time to ensure a victory for the BJP? And where does the other major parties like Congress figure in this? Not to say parties like BSP, Samajwadi Party, RJD, JDU, among others. Today we will discuss all this with Zoya Hasan, Professor, a political analyst and former professor at the JNU, Ajoy, Bose, senior journalist and author of the biography on Mayawati, Venkitesh, Ramakrishnan, associate editor of the Frontline, and Shekhar, Iyer, associate editor of the Hindustan Times. Welcome to all of you. Shekhar, I would like to come to you first. Do you think that this attempt of the BJP, the strategy of the BJP to consolidate the Hindu, to unite the Hindu votes, is making any impact?
No, I don't think they are making such an attempt to begin with. Though there are elements within the BJP who do not agree with the strategy with which they started the campaign. But there are those elements.
What was the strategy?
No, the strategy was because this idea to consolidate has failed. It failed repeatedly, after excepting for one election.
After 98 and 99.
And they have realized that it does not work. And like all political parties, you do what matters and what works. And they have realized that doesn't work. That it is difficult to, in a vast country like ours, with a kind of society we have, with different layers, with caste background, economic factors, so many things involved, there is no a single Hindu voter as such. But there are places or there are constituencies where you can have this.
You are saying that they have realized this?
Yes, they have realized.
The futility of trying to, create a Hindu vote bank.
No, because they have found that even if they, the concept of Hindu votes is repugnant to a majority of people who would think that they are Hindus. So therefore, as a political strategy, it does not work. So as a political strategy, as I understand that party, I don't think they are in that. But there are elements in that party who feel, off and on that, because there is bit of self-doubt about the agenda they are pursuing, the so-called development agenda. That self-doubt sees, you have characters who have been making news of late, who try to make those statements about, knowing very well that Modi has been in speech after speech, right from he was made the prime minister candidate in all the rallies, the way he keeps on talking about this, a vote for development, vote for. You have this kind of people who they share out of habit or it is in their DNA, they make statements which straight away bring back to square one. So therefore, that is this problem. And also and these very elements, like we saw Praveen Togadia, these are the very elements who are very scared of the ascent of Modi, because these elements feel, as it has happened in Gujarat, because Gujarat was supposed to be the first.
No, are you trying to say that they are trying to sabotage his?
No, this is the impression. This is the wide impression is because Togadia had opposed Modi's elevation.
Right.
He had even conveyed it to RSS leaders, but he was told a decision has been taken and he has to keep silent. So we didn't hear any noises from him until 2 days ago, when he talked about the kind of speech he made. But subsequently, what has happened is you had Modi himself today denouncing that statement, and within the RSS there are efforts to pull him up. In fact, my understanding is there is some talk of even contemplating action, but then they are being told that you wait until the elections.
What action can they take on Praveen Togadia in any case?
No, because he is part of the VHP, which is an affiliate of RSS.
Yeah, but okay, let me get Venkitesh Ramakrishnan. Venkitesh has just come back after travelling in Uttar Pradesh, quite extensively, I think. Venkatesh, do you agree with Shekhar that they are really not attempting to recreate this Hindu vote bank? That's not their strategy. What do you see on the ground?
I am afraid I cannot share my friend Shekhar Iyer's views on this, because the way I have seen it, the strategy for 2014 elections has been very carefully crafted with both development as well as the pan-Hindutva agenda of the RSS and Sangh Parivar, which they have been trying to crystallize and formulate for many decades. As I see it, if you look at the trajectory of the RSS, Sangh Parivar, BJP strategy from 2004 to 2014, 2004 they tried to push, that was the election when they thought that the Hindutva agenda need not be pushed forward, that the NDA, which was rolling from for 6 years since 1998, could go ahead on the development plank completely. That is when they coined the India Shining slogan.
Right.
But that fell flat. That slogan gave them only a shocking defeat. So after that, the RSS has been trying to kind of bring in a lot of course correction in the BJP, and one of the aspects, of course, they knew that the Hindutva agenda cannot be pushed in the way it was pushed before 98 in the 90s during the Ayodhya Rama Janmabhoomi movement. They had come to the realization that they cannot push the agenda in the same manner since 1993 itself, when they lost the first elections after the demolition of Babri Masjid in 1993 November, when the Samajwadi Party and Bahujan Samaj Party combined to defeat
assembly elections.
Assembly election. So after that, in 2009, there was a different nuanced position that was taken. You saw somebody like Varun Gandhi talking about cutting hands of the people who are supporting Pakistan and things like that. And now I think it has been more nuanced and been taken into a position of fineness. It has been taken to a position of a very, very finely crafted piece. So on the one hand, you are projecting the so-called developmental model of Gujarat under the leadership of Narendra Modi. That's on the one side. And on the other side, you have people like the guys who have engineered, the leaders who have engineered the communal riots in Western Uttar Pradesh, getting seats, they're being facilitated in the campaign meetings, and a whole atmosphere of communalization, communal polarization being created by the BJP and its associates in the Sangh Parivar. And what I see is that it has worked to a large extent in Western Uttar Pradesh, but as I've been traveling in Central and Eastern Uttar Pradesh, I see the scale or the decisive impact of this communal polarization plus development agenda or tactic has not been as impactful as it is in Western Uttar Pradesh. In fact, in large parts of Central and Eastern Uttar Pradesh, the old caste equations continue to remain as the most important factor in the elections.
Okay, Zoya, this is very interesting. When we were talking of Western Uttar Pradesh, which went to vote on April 10th, there was this entire thing. Of course, Shekhar has a completely different take on all these things. But now you think that from what Venkatesh is saying, this attempt to create this or recreate this Hindu vote bank is something which they will really have to work very hard to succeed?
It's very clear from this election campaign that there is certainly an attempt to create a Hindu vote bank. It is being done differently from the way in which it was done in the 1990s. After all,
how is it different?
In the 1990s, there was the Ayodhya movement.
Right.
And BJP and the RSS were riding on the shoulders of the Ayodhya movement, which the RSS and VHP had organized. Now, in this case, there is no overt movement or campaign. But at the same time, it is very clear from all reports that the RSS is in the forefront of this campaign. Narendra Modi is a candidate of the RSS. Surely he is speaking the language of development, but equally in subtle ways he is talking the language of Hindutva as well. And the point is that Narendra Modi does...
How do you say that? Why do you say that?
Well, I say that because after all, even if the focus of the campaign is on Narendra Modi. Narendra Modi is backed by the RSS. Narendra Modi has not delinked himself from the RSS. He has repeatedly said that he is very proud to be a Swayamsevak. He is very proud to be associated with the RSS. He has repeatedly said that he is what he is because of the RSS. Now, there is no evidence to say that the RSS has turned from Hindutva to development. The fact that RSS is supporting Modi doesn't mean that the RSS has been transformed. The RSS is exactly what it is, which is that it stands for Hindutva. It stands for the creation of a majoritarian polity, a majoritarian society, giving preference to the majority community. So, as always, but perhaps more pointedly in this election, the BJP RSS campaign is indulging in doublespeak, which is development on the one hand and Hindutva on the other. And as the campaign is picking up, it is very significant that that there is greater focus now, not necessarily on the part of Narendra Modi, but the whole assortment of organizations that are associated with the Sangh Parivar. Their focus is very much on Hindutva themes. Now, I will not get into Togadia and so on, because you very rightly pointed out, because he's not in the election process, he's not a candidate. There are very well-known differences between him and Narendra Modi, so there's little point, and I don't think anybody should draw comfort from the fact that Narendra Modi and Praveen Togadia have differences. The fact of the matter is that VHP is part of the Sangh Parivar, and whatever differences there may be, that doesn't mean that the VHP is not backing Praveen Togadia. So I think to your question, I don't think that there is a Hindu vote bank as such. No, there isn't.
There has are you saying no, that there has never been a Hindu vote bank?
No, there is no
Hindu. Even in 98,
no, I would not.
57 out of the 85 seats.
No, you see, when you say that, I don't think there is a Hindu vote bank as such, because the Hindu community is very large, it is very heterogeneous, it is very diverse, it is very divided. Any religion which is based on the caste system cannot but be divided, and the Hindus are clearly divided along caste lines. Now, that may have changed to some extent, but that has certainly not gone away. So to say that there exists a Hindu, because you see, there is a difference between a majority community and a minority community. Minority community, because it's a minority, can very often work and act as work together, work in unison. The same cannot be said about Hindus, but that does not mean that there isn't an attempt by the BJP to create a Hindu vote bank, and they're definitely creating
Ajoy,
a
would you agree with that theory of Zoya?
Well, a quick word firstly about the BJP strategy in Uttar Pradesh.
Yes.
I think it's a three-pronged strategy.
BJP strategy in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, these are two very important.
Well, particularly Uttar Pradesh, let me talk about it. There's a three-pronged strategy. One of the prongs is certainly includes Hindutva. And this is actually pinpointed at Western UP, where there is already a highly communalized atmosphere, created not just by the BJP, also created by the Samajwadi Party.
Right.
It takes two hands to clap in usually a communalized atmosphere. There is also, of course, the whole development mantra, the miracle man from Gujarat, Mr. Modi, something new, that's also there. But thirdly, the BJP also consciously tried to play caste politics. It has stitched up a fairly formidable caste coalition, which includes a lot of the middle castes, some aspiring backward castes, and seeking a bit of the Dalit vote. So, it's not that the BJP is looking at their strategy as a very unidimensional thing. Now, thing is, how far it's worked in Western UP, because the atmosphere is very communal, it is possible that the BJP may have done, these are its strong areas, and it may have done very well. Is there a Hindu vote? I think that when you talk of Hindu, it means really nothing. Because as soon as you enter rural areas, Hinduism gets completely spread out into different castes.
That was exactly what was trying to be overcome in this election.
Yeah. No, but I don't think that you can overcome it just by wish. But certainly, there are situations, particularly when there are events in this thing where age-old fault lines between Hindu communities and the Muslim or sort of minority, does come into play. So it would be also silly to deny those kind of tensions which exist really. And so you can play mischief.
Yes.
You can play mischief. So there's scope for playing mischief. The BJP, the RSS, various other organizations, the Sangh Parivar have done. I also agree with Shekhar. The BJP may look a little too monolithic, Sometimes there are many rogue elements, many other games which are going on. There are many agendas going on. Certainly, Mr. Togadia has a completely different agenda, and he has a personal agenda. So we don't know what game he's playing.
No, so I don't think I don't think diverted.
I don't think we should dwell on that at all. I mean, so people like Togadia or Subramanian Swamy, they have their own agendas.
Why I'm mentioning this is that we should not think that the BJP is totally in control. Often the BJP, and what I hear, there's a lot of internal problems within the BJP, even within Uttar Pradesh. So I don't think that it would be right to say that everything that is happening is necessarily something which is orchestrated in a very Machiavellian manner by Mr. Modi.
Ajoy, the question is now, one of the when they are talking of the strategy of uniting the Hindus, you spoke about fault lines at the village level and things like that. One of the major strategies is to wean away as much of the Dalit vote as possible and project them as Hindus. This has been done in the past by this party very successfully also. So
you think this time, that is the Sangh Parivar?
You think this time they will be more successful than what they have been?
Absolutely. But please remember,
as far as weaning away the
Sangh Parivar, including the BJP, it's in its DNA. It has a certain vision of India which incorporates that. So I mean, that is nothing new. But the point is a conscious strategy. Electorally, exactly. When you are hoping to get dividends, then why? I don't think this election the BJP hopes to get a huge number of votes on Hindu consolidation. I don't think that is Mr. Modi's strategy at all. Modi is looking at it of strong, decisive leadership, as opposed to a weak, vacillating leadership of the Congress. 10 years of the Congress, he's somebody new. This is a new BJP, and he certainly, Hindu consolidation is not his strong suit.
You think it is not his strong suit? Shekhar, you have found some support from Ajoy.
No, I am not making. No, let's get this. Let us get this clear, because we started. Is there existence of a Hindu?
Yes, vote bank.
And whether is BJP consciously pursuing?
Absolutely.
So I only gave you what I understand in terms of understanding that party and the strategy. So therefore, because you see, I'll tell you something about whether it is a Ram Temple issue or 370. Way I have seen BJP is, they stick on to something only if it works. If it doesn't work, they drop it. For instance, I think we haven't taken note of the manifesto this year for the first time talks about a constitutional process to solve the Ram Temple issue. This they have never said before.
Because always it's a matter of emotion. And
no. Earlier they used to say either by dialogue or by court. It had to be, but this time there is a single sentence which says by a within the constitutional process. So therefore, an issue like Ram, because the plain, if you ask me whether it's a change of heart, I don't know. But definitely there is a change of strategy. And for the simple reason is, it doesn't work. And when you are attempting at these young voters, the first time voters, these voters are simply put off by all these things.
Are you sure they're put off by all these
things? Absolutely.
Venkatesh, Shekhar Iyer's theory that because you're playing around with young voters have a different way of looking at these things. The BJP is not working on the Hindu vote bank. Would you agree with that?
No, I'm afraid I cannot agree with that, because on the ground, the communal polarization, the communal theme, it is something that works, cutting across the age barrier. Though of course there will be differences in terms of the impact, there will be differences in terms of the inflammatory response that you get for a particular cause. And just to put the record straight, it is not just the Togadia who has been talking about this Hindutva element or the extreme Hindutva positions. If you go back even in about 2-3 weeks into the history that's gone by, Amit Shah himself talked in Western UP about, getting Badla and getting, Badla for reinstating the status of a particular community. And again, it was Modi's very close associate and former Bihar minister, Girish Singh. Again, he is not somebody who's like a Togadia, who's distant from the BJP, who's only in Vishwa Hindu Parishad. He is actively participating in BJP, and he is even a candidate from the Nevada constituency. Exactly. He was the one who said that anybody who's opposing Modi should go to Pakistan. Of course, the undertones of such a statement is very clear. So this whole communalization, the effort to kind of polarize this election communally, along with the development agenda, is going hand in hand, and it is having impact not only in certain sections of the elder sections of the population, but also among the younger population.
Among the younger population also. Zoya, would you agree with that? Because there has been several studies. There has been any number of discussions in this country about how the young, whether the young vote in the same fashion as the older people do. But when it comes to these kind of emotional issues, when you're talking of creating a Hindu vote bank, you're obviously talking of creating emotionally. You're trying to bring them emotionally. So, do the younger act differently from the older ones?
There are 2 points. One, that much of this discussion today, as indeed the discussion on the Modi campaign, and especially the Hindutva dimension of it, has focused on UP and Bihar. But if you look at the BJP campaign in North India as a whole,
let us look at not just North India, even across.
Because there's an attempt to say, no, this is only happening in Western UP. This is only happening in 4 districts of Western UP or 5 districts which have been communally polarized. No, if you look at the campaign in North India as a whole, which is to say Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, UP, Bihar, and so on. These are their traditional strongholds.
Even
Jharkhand, BJP has there is an attempt at communal polarization, there is an attempt at Hindu consolidation, and to some extent they have succeeded in creating this polarization because of the way in which Muslims are also reacting now.
Right.
Muslims are reacting to this polarization by saying that every attempt must be made to defeat the BJP. Therefore, Muslim leaders, Muslim voters are saying that they will vote once again tactically or strategically. So that is happening, happening independently, but also in reaction.
It is in reaction. Shekhar, what Zoya says is very important and interesting.
About Muslim vote, is it happening first time?
No, it's
no,
not happening.
And when we are talking about Hindu vote, is there not an attempt to continue that identity politics?
My question is this.
Is there no attempt to consolidate Muslim votes, which goes by the name of secular votes?
Attempt to consolidate is something. Shekhar, my question is this.
See, you can't take you are tempting the BJP to do that. If you have parties which are going to a section and say that, look, don't vote them in because this will come, definitely, there are elements within the same who also feel, look, this is a gap, now let's not do that.
Can I just complete
what
I
said? There is a reaction, counter reaction.
There is a counter reaction.
The question is there a Muslim vote?
Is there she said earlier that because the minorities, there is a possibility of a minority vote bank because it's small.
No, there are 2 issues.
That's what you said, right?
You see, this particular program is on the Hindu vote.
Right.
You could certainly have a separate program on the Muslim vote where we could discuss.
But he says that it is as a reaction.
Secondly, your question about whether the young are moved principally by development issues rather than Hindutva issues, I would say both the young and the old seem to be moved by both sets of issues. Secondly, when I say that BJP is indulging in doublespeak, it is certainly focusing on development to appeal to the urban middle classes, to the upper classes, above all the corporate sector, and to some extent the media, of course, which is very much part of this campaign now. So it appeals to them. Then there are the young, and clearly there's huge unemployment in India. And Modi has been able to spin this dream that come 20th of May, there will be 20 million jobs which will be created overnight, and all these young people seem to be flocking to Modi on this promise of, and you and I know very well that come 20th May, we are not going to have 20 million jobs.
Ajoy.
So therefore, there have to be other reasons which are attracting people to Modi, and that is, as I said, it's the combination of development and Hindutva.
Yes.
All I'm trying to point out that the situation is a little more nuanced.
No, 1 second.
So we're all saying it's nuanced. We're all saying it's nuanced.
Would you agree with Shekhar that a counter vote bank theory happens, or what Zoya is talking about, how Muslims are reacting to the whole thing, saying that we will vote for against Modi, whoever it is, strategic voting.
See, if you
think this happens
if
just
you look
out
at
of
the
thin air?
history of the Muslim minority since partition, it is only but natural that the Muslims will live with a siege mentality. It is only natural. Historically, if you look at the evolution,
is that siege
it's not very surprising.
It's not surprising.
It's not surprising.
But this siege mentality is
the siege mentality. A lot of political parties have very cynically exploited the siege mentality. Principally the Congress, of course, but various other parties. Now, my point in this is that we should not define the Hindu vote by the Muslim vote. I don't think that the Hindu vote gets diverted by this. All I am trying to point out, there was a very communally surcharged atmosphere, I remember, in the early 90s.
Right.
You know, particularly after the wake of Mandal and during the Ram Janambhoomi movement. I do not see that really happening today. I do not see that Hindus are particularly worried about some Muslim threat or this, that and the other. There were a lot of things which happened at that time. All I want to point out is that the BJP's DNA, because it has evolved out of the Jan Sangh and they are all a part of the Sangh Parivar, very much a part of their mental makeup is that vision of India which was set out by Golwalkar. My point is, however, and I completely agree with Shekhar, there are extremely practical, pragmatic lot of people, even in the RSS, they will not try and emphasize something which they feel will harm their electoral prospects. So they will do things which they feel work. Often their plans come completely. This thing.
Yes.
So my point is that they are practical people.
Right.
Venkatesh, so they will do what works.
Venkatesh, very quickly. So you think that as we go along, we still have another 4 phases to go in these elections. As we go along, do you think that the BJP will rework its strategies again? Will see that on the ground some of these things which they were planning is not working? As Shekhar says that they are practical enough, or even Ajoy Bose says they are practical enough. So you think that this attempt to create a vote bank can be something on which there will be a rethink?
No, they are indeed very practical people, and it is not as though they have formulated the strategy for 2014 elections just in 2013 and 2014. If you go to the RSS BJP documents from 2004 onwards, you can see that there has been systematically working on creating an election strategy which will work. They tried to implement it in 2009, they failed, and in 2014 they seem to have come close to a good combination.
Yeah,
a combination, according to a senior RSS leader in Lucknow, says that we have been successfully able to combine this development image and the pan-Hindu identity model that we have wanted to build up across large parts of India. We have successfully crafted it, and several instances, several large-scale communal instances like the one in Muzaffarnagar, and very limited communal tensions which have sprung up in various other parts of the country, including Pratapgarh, Jharkhand. All these places have cumulatively impacted this, and they feel, the RSS and the Sangh Parivar feel, that they have a winning strategy at this point of time. Indeed, it's a very practical strategy.
So whether it's a winning strategy or not will be decided in a couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks from now. But the fact that there are different opinions on this, but one common thing is that creating a Hindu vote bank is not a very easy thing, as all my panelists at least agree. Thanks to all my guests, Ajoy Bose, Shekhar Iyer, Zoya, Hasan and Venkitesh Ramakrishnan. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue on the big picture same time tomorrow.